I suppose I'll ask my two questions and give you as much time as possible to answer, but I think Mr. Reid earlier was prevented from putting this on the record, but I think all of my questions are in the context of a line that's included in your opening submission, that Ireland per capita has done more testing than France, Germany, Norway and Italy, and I want to commend the HSE on the work that they're doing. I'm not sure in the public mindset there's a realisation of the level of testing that has actually taken place in Ireland, and much of the successes in terms we've had in terms of ramping that up. I represent a part of Dublin that has 265 cases per 100,000 over the last 14 days. That's the Ballymun Finglas ward. It's a huge concern locally, and there isn't really an understanding of whether that is because of known clusters in institutions or in particular communities, or if that is a wider issue in the community. The rate of 25% community transmission in the area, I suppose it points to an issue, but I wonder if you perhaps could come back to me on that case, because I know locally public reps want to do more to try and encourage people to take all of the steps that are needed. Would the HSE consider doing a walk-in testing centre in that electoral district in order to improve access to testing? And because we do have an issue with GP access in the area, and I'll put my plug in for the primary care centre as I'm speaking. That's the first one. And the second one is I have a concern around travel and testing. Given that I represent an area where there's such a high rate, I am concerned that travel testing may take capacity from the system, and I wonder if you could address that issue too. I think you have 3.5 minutes on that.
Thanks, Deputy. And a very quick response just to Deputy McCarthy. 3,000 tests completed last week across 29 plants. Apologies for delaying getting back to you. Deputy McAuliffe, just a few points. Firstly, thanks for your comments. I think there is a point just to reassure the public. I've never advocated that we have the absolute optimum testing and tracing system. In fact, I've said we need to build and evolve what we have, and that's the discussion we've had with our board in terms of building a future model, and as part of our plans, that's what we're doing. But just the facts are that, including just up to yesterday, some world data reports that we do rank in some of the highest countries in the world per 1,000 of population, and we do rank in the top quartile for tests per 1,000 people versus GDP per capita. So, we are performing, but we know we have to do more with our testing and tracing system. And secondly, just in terms of known clusters and testing centres, we do work very closely with NEFIT in terms of where high prominence and high incidence of cases emerge. We are open to whatever solutions we can do, and we have put in mobile testing units, as I mentioned briefly, in other areas, and we will continuously monitor the areas that you just mentioned. Thirdly, in terms of travel and testing, it is ultimately responsibility for the Department of Transport, who are working at this right now. We do want to ensure two things: that we continuously have the capacity that we need for community testing, serial testing, contacts testing, and other capacity that needs to come on board. We need to make sure we don't impact on referrals of cases. So that is a process that's ongoing right now. We are advising the department on it, and to ensure that two things: if extra capacity is required for travel, that it is secured, and secondly, that if the extra capacity process comes on board for travel, that there is a process in legislation for notification of positive results back to our own HSE system as well.
Mr. Reid, just on regard to the walk-in test centre, you said you'd continue to monitor that. What level would need to be required, or what factors would need to be required to justify a walk-in test centre? And as I say, we do have very limited GP access in certain parts of that electoral district.
Sorry, Deputy, and I picked up your question slightly wrong. Our process is through referrals and GP referrals, and we believe that's the right one. GPs have worked with us clinically. Because we always want to guard against, somebody could have a negative test result and say, oh, well, that's grand, I don't have COVID. But there are other symptoms or other illnesses they may have. So we do want to protect the GP referral process.
I know a number of people have access to the National Show Centre, which while a fine venue, is very difficult to get to other than by car, and in an area that does have levels of disadvantage, I would urge you to consider some local access to a testing centre in that area, given the high rates, and I think it is a way that we can tackle the virus overall in the city. Thank you.
I don't disagree, Deputy.